Welcome to episode 279 of the Various and Sundry podcast. I'm your host, Matt Harmon, joined live from the Vault Studio on the beautiful campus of Grace College and Grace Theological Seminary by my good friend, my colleague, my co-host, and the man who spent part of his day visiting with the nice folks out of Grace Village, John Scott Sloat.
Lovely people out of Grace Village.
Yeah.
Lovely, lovely human beings.
Well,
Sang happy birthday to a man who turned 90 today.
okay.
He runs the tech booth over at Grace Village.
Does he really?
Yeah.
How about
Yeah.
that? Yeah. Well, my father-in-law is turning 90
Oh.
in June.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'm confident he doesn't listen to the podcast, and so I can safely say this. We're going out to surprise him for his 90th.
Oh, wow.
birthday. Yeah.
Watch him listen to this episode.
There's no chance. There is zero chance. He would be the last person you would have running the tech booth at a place like Grace Village. So, yeah. Well, I mean, you remember last year, I was a part of that event. It was at the end of the year.
Yeah, was it this one? We usually do one a quarter over there.
I think it was the spring. Maybe it was the fall. You did one like
I don't think I was there for yours, though.
Anyway, well, I know that. Yeah, I thought you were, but maybe I'm mistaken. You had me come in, and Drew interviewed me and Isaac forgot about it, and so he was late.
I was there for that.
And so we were scrambling to get him there.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes, I do remember.
Yes, I can't remember if that was fall or spring.
That was
but-
spring.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that's spring.
Yeah. Yes. So, yeah, fun place there. Yeah, but
Oh, we sing a couple of hymns, which are really nice.
yeah,
You know, we sing some hymns I've never heard of before.
sure.
One was apparently Dr. McLean, our founder's favorite hymn.
Oh, what's that? Do you remember what it was?
I promise to serve you, Jesus. I think it's the name of the hymn.
I'm not familiar
And
with that one, I don't think.
it was Dr. McLean's wish that we always sang it at graduation.
Oh, we don't do that anymore.
We don't do that anymore. No. But it'd be nice to bring it back. You know, as sort of a homage.
So, are you getting rid of the grace, God's grace?
Well, we
grace
sang that
is
one too.
greater
Yeah,
than all my sin. And do we still do Mighty Fortress?
Mighty Fortress is our institutional hymn.
Yeah. So we have to add one. You can't pull out either of those two.
Yeah. No. My hope would be to add someday.
Okay.
Someday.
All right.
I like the history of it.
Okay. All right. Well, if you would like to contact the show and join John in his campaign to get that song sung at our commencement services, which
Maybe not this year.
probably not this year, a little late for that, you can find us on Twitter, or now known as X, at VNS Pod. You can email the show, variousandsundarypodcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and on YouTube, and we would love for you to leave a 5-star review. I have a couple of business items to take care of before we get to our sports segment here.
Okay.
The first is a friendly reminder that we have had a podcast listener pledge to match.
Yes. Sort of match. So if somebody gives, this individual will give $500.
Okay. I
So
see.
if you give $25, they will give $500.
Wow. Okay.
Up to $10,000.
Up to okay. Gotcha. So it's per gift essentially.
Yep.
So what if I gave like 4 times?
I imagine that would be I imagine that would be a couple of gifts.
Okay. I can just see that listener going, actually, I'm not quite sure that I signed up for that.
So yeah, that's through graduation. So that's
Yeah,
through
so
this Saturday.
Through this week. Yeah.
So either you got your mailer in the mail. I don't know how other ways a mailer would get to you other than the mail.
I don't know.
Or you could go online and give and just put the little box, VNS.
Yeah.
Let us know.
Okay. Very good. And then the other well, you want to say anything about the Day of Giving? That was last week.
That was last week. Day of Giving is a bit of a misnomer.
Right.
We're still getting mail from it.
Sure. Sure.
I'll hold off on
Okay.
dollars and things like that.
Very good. The other business item before we get to sports is a reminder that we have selected our summer read.
Yes, we have. Very excited.
Yeah, Tim Keller on the Christian Life
Right up my alley.
by Matt Smethurst. And we will begin reading it next episode. So episode 280, that will drop on May 13th, will be our first discussion of the podcast,
Nice.
on the podcast of that book. And we will be discussing the introduction
Intro.
and chapters 1 and 2.
Yep. Sounds good.
So if you want to follow along, that would be great.
Sounds like a plan.
And if you don't have a copy, run, don't walk over to your computer, phone, tablet, smart device. You can probably just talk to Alexa in your living room and have her order it for you.
Perhaps. Yeah. I'm trying to think of another way to order a book, and I don't know. I go to Chicago to the publisher. Walk in the front door.
You could walk into the front doors of Crossway. They probably have copies there.
Mm-hmm. You could probably even purchase them there.
They're lovely people.
Other ways to purchase this. I don't think it's going to be at Books A Million.
I don't know. I mean,
Is Books A Million still a storefront?
I don't know.
It's definitely an online. I've bought books there before
Have you?
online.
I mean, do you think you could walk into a Barnes & Noble and
It feels like Tim
feels like
Keller
that's
was big
big.
enough of a name that he's in
Maybe.
Barnes & Noble,
maybe, yeah. Okay. So,
but definitely Amazon.
yeah, a little mom and pop organization called Amazon, which, speaking of which,
Did you see that last week? We haven't talked about this.
we haven't. I mean, you're Mr. Advancement, community connected. I
Yeah.
think you should mention this.
Okay, so last week, oh goodness, what day was it? Wednesday?
Sure.
A PR statement came out. Now there's a manufacturing plant an old manufacturing plant called Donnelly's across town.
Yep.
It's been empty for a long time. Mm-hmm. Ever since I've lived here, certainly.
Yeah.
Perhaps longer. And it was announced that a company called Slate Auto.
Yeah.
Have you played around on their website at all?
I just looked very briefly to see what kind of models they have.
So basically, they produce electric trucks that are wildly customizable but very cheap to make, is my understanding.
Yeah.
And
The idea is for it to retail for like 25, but then with government incentives that are currently in place, it would get it down to around $20,000 for like a pickup truck or a small SUV.
yes. And they're going to be manufactured right here in Warsaw, Winona Lake, Indiana.
Isn't that wild?
2,000 jobs.
Yeah.
I've contacted their offices, and I'm trying to get a meeting with their team.
Yeah.
I don't know what will come of it.
It's just wild to me. Like, of all the places they could go,
Yeah.
Warsaw, Indiana.
Yeah, I don't know.
2,000 jobs. That's a big deal when you have a population of 15 to 20,000 people.
Yeah, it's like 10%.
I mean, you're going to have people, I think, driving from distances for those jobs.
I think Elkhart. People are going to be coming down from Elkhart for those jobs because I think
the
the
RV industry.
RV industry in Elkhart, right?
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a lot steadier than
Yeah.
the RV industry.
I would think so. But you'll get people from Columbia City and,
Oh, yeah.
you'll get people driving half
Sure.
hour, 45 minutes for good, assuming these are, I would imagine they're reasonably good paying jobs.
I'd assume so.
So, yeah, I mean, it's wild
Home values are going to go up.
and only intensify the housing shortage around here.
Yes. Oh, yes. Have you ever talked to anybody trying to move here? It's a nightmare.
Yeah, I have a friend who's looking for a house.
Yeah.
And, that's not easy. I mean, it's tempting, given how nice and high home values are. It's tempting to sell, but then I got to live somewhere, right?
Yeah. You would have to.
I mean, I would want to build, but building's not cheap either. It's not like
no, materials are going up and up and up.
yeah. So
Trust me, I know. I'm trying to build some things.
all right, John. I think that's enough business items for the day. Let's talk some sports.
Okay.
So, NBA playoffs.
Yeah.
So first round is done. Two upsets, both in the Western Conference. The Timberwolves beat the Lakers 4-1.
That's wild.
I mean, just took it to them.
Just a shellacking.
And then Golden State beat the Rockets just last night. I mean, this will air on the May 6th, so 2 nights ago, I guess. But in Game 7. So first round is now complete.
Yep.
Those are the only 2 upsets. And last night, Game 1 of one of the Eastern Conference semifinals, Pacers took Game 1 in Cleveland over the Cavs.
A little bit of a surprise there.
A little bit. I watched a chunk of that, and this was the first games. I think the Cavs had gone 30 straight games where they hit at least 10 3-pointers, and they only hit 9 last night. And the Pacers hit 19.
Wow.
It's tough to win games when you're minus 30 behind the arc.
Yeah.
That's a tough deficit to overcome. So that's setting up to be a good series. And your Knicks.
Yeah, Knicks Celtics.
They play, well, tonight when we record, Monday night, I assume, right?
Yeah. I don't have high hopes for that series.
You think the Celtics are going to win?
I think this is the end of the road for the Knicks.
Okay.
I'd be pleasantly surprised.
So what's your prediction? Celtics in 6?
6, probably, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So NBA playoffs well underway. Did you watch the Kentucky Derby?
I did not, no.
I didn't either.
Yeah, I saw it on Twitter. That's how I knew it was happening even.
Yeah, I mean...
I do appreciate a good horse name, though, and we had some good ones.
Yes. I had 2 observations from the Kentucky Derby. The first is that the name of the winning horse, Sovereignty.
Mm-hmm. It's a good name.
It's a great name. Yeah, so every Calvinist who even is remotely aware of the Kentucky Derby celebrated that. So Sovereignty beat journalism.
Every day of the week. Did you see the terrible intro from the gymnast from LSU?
I saw people talking about Livy Dunn.
Yes, that's her name.
And she
who is dating Paul Skeens, the
pitcher for the
phenom pitcher for the Pirates.
Yeah. But she became a big deal way before that.
She's like TikTok famous, I think. I think that's her thing.
She was actually one of the earliest on the NIL thing.
Oh, was she?
Because she once the regulations opened up to that, like she had a massive like Instagram or TikTok following and monetized it, and she was making serious bank. Even before she became, associated with they're just boyfriend girlfriend, right? They're not married. Are they married?
I think they're just dating.
Okay. Anyway, she did some cringy intro, I guess.
She just butchered it.
Okay.
I mean, just butchered the lines they wanted her to say.
Okay.
It did not go well.
So now that you're removed from not living in Louisville, I mean, you lived there for 1 year, but
Yeah.
It was a big deal when you were down there.
My year abroad.
Your year in exile. That's right. You're just disconnected from it.
I am.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fun being there. It's a lot for horse racing.
Yeah.
It's a
it's a huge thing, and then the race itself is like 2 minutes.
Yes.
And that's a lot of buildup and a lot of stuff when the actual event takes 2 minutes.
I mean, the little direct mail place I worked at we probably had 40 floor employees, and they had drawings and who's going to win the running of the Oaks and all these things, and it was just like I have to know all these horse names, and
yeah,
I ended up winning something. I don't know how I won something, but
the other interesting fact that I found in terms of the Kentucky Derby is that every single horse in the race was a descendant of Secretariat. Mm-hmm. Did you see this?
Well, they put them out the stud.
Right. Do you know how many horses that apparently Secretariat has sired? That's the word.
I imagine thousands.
It's actually like 660, I guess. But then, of course, I mean, it's not like direct descendant. I mean, it's like, like multi-generations.
Sure.
So, but, I mean, just, yeah. I mean, that's how these horse owners make their money. ultimately. Like they're successful, they win a couple of races, or they win the right races
At the right time.
At the right time,
Sure.
and then they just make bank off of siring. So is that the proper way to say that? Siring? I think
I have no idea.
Siring. Yeah.
Putting them out to stud.
Okay. Sure. Let's talk baseball real quick.
Okay.
How are your Mets doing?
So we've hit a bit of a rough patch as of late. We've lost back-to-back series, but we've lost 7 games in the last 2 weeks, and most of them by 1 run, 5 of them by 1 run, and 2 of them by 2 runs. So competitive baseball games, still in them, playing well.
Any bullpen issues causing that?
No, we've had some injuries with the bullpen. We're not blowing games. We're giving up 4 or 5 runs, and we're only scoring 3 or 4 runs. It tends to be more things like that.
All right.
So maybe there was 1 game with some bullpen issues, but for the most part, it's been fine.
Okay.
Bullpen's been a strength.
Gotcha. All right. One thing that's not on the rundown here, because it just came up today.
Oh boy, you're going off script.
I am going off script. The University of Michigan, that school up north.
I don't know this.
Announced today that they are self-imposing a 2-game suspension for their football coach.
Who was the defensive? Was he the defensive coordinator?
He was the
Jimmy Harbaugh. Was there?
He was the offensive coordinator.
Offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Is it in relation to that scandal, or is this a new scandal?
No, it's in relation. This is the university self-imposing this.
Right, which usually means the NCAA is going to come down with a harder.
Yes, schools do this
preemptively,
hoping that it's enough, or that it, builds goodwill between you and the NCAA.
Does that work?
No.
Okay, why do it then? Because you can't do nothing.
Yeah, I guess. The school president is also leaving the institution.
Over this?
Well, of course he's not going to say that. But he is
Who is the school president of Michigan?
He has a great name. You ready for this? Santa Ono.
Santa Ono?
Yes.
Sounds like an ice skater.
He is going to become the new president at the University of Florida.
Oh. I'm trying to decide what's a better job.
I don't know. I mean, but it certainly has the feel of people, abandoning ship before
the rats are leaving.
Yeah,
sort of an idea.
Yeah. Here's the funny part. So 2-game self-imposed suspension. So when you hear that initially, you think, oh well, logically that would mean the first 2 games. Oh no, they're gonna do the suspension games 3 and 4.
What's games 1 and 2?
Game 2 is Oklahoma.
Okay.
So that game's clearly a little too important.
Prime time.
For them. So again, to me, what that tells me is you're not taking this seriously at all. If you're picking and choosing when you're doing your suspension rather than just like, well, first 2 games. Like that, these are the next 2 games. We're doing 2 games. Like, in what universe do you self-select when you take your self-imposed suspension?
A self-imposed. Well, 2 games is pretty light.
Oh, absolutely.
It?
Oh, it's absolutely.
You really want to get the NCAA's attention. You do a year. Say our coach is going to step out for a year. Yeah. You really want to avoid sanctions, them limiting how much scholarship you can hand out.
I don't think the NCAA is going to give a rip about this because they're going to do more than that. They're going to give him more than a 2-game.
Now, if they give him 5 games, do the 2 games count?
That varies.
Or is it
could.
5 additional games?
It could. It's up to them. So.
And what exactly was the violation they did?
Well, this is in connection with the sign stealing, the illegal sign stealing operation.
Okay.
that he deleted texts between him and the guy at the center of this.
How do you delete text?
Well,
I assume they're using iMessage.
yeah,
Aren't those there forever?
basically. I mean, they found them,
Okay, so they're not deleted.
but he tried. Like he deleted them off of his phone. They recovered them. So, I mean, yes, he deleted them. He just didn't do it well enough. So, anyway,
Interesting.
yeah, it's a big mess. We'll see. All right, John, let's move on to our main topic for
We just
today.
did 20 minutes to start the show here. My
Well,
goodness.
we had business to take care of.
We did. We had a very important.
We still only had a
business.
10-minute sports segment on there. So
We can have business as a category on the rundown for the
I hope not, because
we have to vote.
Yeah, well, that'll just be one more segment that certain listeners will just skip over. Like, oh, business.
Yeah.
Not interested in that, boys.
Anything for the good of the order.
That's right. That's right. Any new business to discuss? Let's get the Roberts rules out here and just do it right. So,
We do have a first and a second, though. We can vote.
yeah, but the even number means that it has to be unanimous.
Yeah. Well, we have a quorum. It's 2.
All right, so we are discussing an article from the Gospel Coalition entitled let me get the title right, The Spiritual Problem of Being Overinformed. So this is from Brett McCracken. And so, spiritual problem of being overinformed. Basically, the gist is what are the effects of being absolutely overwhelmed by information on a daily basis? Mm-hmm. And how does that affect us essentially spiritually? I mean, again, you can't just sort of section off spiritual from the rest of your experience. But so
Do you want to start with that Neil Postman quote?
yeah, so good.
Do you want me to read it here?
Yeah, so let me set some context for you. So they begin the article with a quote from Neil Postman, who's famous for writing the book Amusing Ourselves to Death.
Great book. 1985, 1987, somewhere in that ballpark?
Mid-'80s.
Yeah.
And the quote that you're about to read is actually from a speech that Postman gave in 1990 called Informing Ourselves to Death. Now, that date's important, I think, 1990.
Yeah.
So before the internet.
During Bush 1.
Yeah. Bush 43.
Mm-hmm.
No, 41. 41. It's 41 and 43. That's right. So Bush 41.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the more I think you read stuff from Postman, you're like, that dude's like a secular prophet. So anyway, okay. So this is in a speech in 1990 where he said this, and you'll hear this and you'll think, are you sure he's not talking about today? So go ahead.
The tie between information and action has been severed. Information is now a commodity that can be bought and sold or used as a form of entertainment or worn like a garment to enhance one's status. It comes indiscriminately directed at no one in particular, disconnected from usefulness. We are glutted with information, drowning in information, have no control over it, don't know what to do with it. Our defenses against information glut have broken down. Our information immune system is inoperable. We don't know how to filter it out. We don't know how to reduce it. We don't know how to use it. Neil Postman, 1990.
Yeah.
When did Neil Postman die?
I was just thinking that. You want to look that up?
Yeah, I can do some quick Googling here.
There you go. So the article uses that as a launching pad, essentially, to move into a discussion about being overinformed, and they contend that being overinformed is more of a liability than an asset in today's world. The quality of digitally mediated information is simply too untrustworthy. So,
died in 2003 in Flushing's, Queens.
Okay. Do you think if he was still alive, I don't know how old he was. Like he was probably I think he lived a reasonably
72.
Full life. Yeah, so he lived a reasonably full life.
Died right outside the Mets Stadium.
Maybe after heartbreak over a Mets loss. I don't know.
Maybe 2005, maybe 2006.
Okay,
but not 2003.
So, like, do you think he would have been the guy that would have like moved out to Wyoming or Idaho and just lived out on a piece of property, disconnected from the internet entirely, obviously, and just like, I don't know, raised sheep or something?
I don't think so, because he's a creature of New York City. Like New York University grad, born in Manhattan, died in Queens. He's a creature of New York. I think he needed to be in New York.
Yeah.
But I think he would have had sort of there's an impulse among a certain kind of people to leave society behind and go out into the woods and live one's life.
Yeah.
I think he would have felt that.
Okay. So in this article, they talk about a number of side effects of being overinformed. And so let's just hit these. How about this? I will read them in bullet point fashion, all of them. And then we can choose which ones we want to kind of dig into a little bit. So they are we become anxious. We become angry. We become addicted. We become numb. We become lonely. We become delusional. And we become detached from reality. Okay. Do you agree with all of those as side effects of overinformation?
I don't think it's an exhaustive list, but I think it's a good list.
Okay. Anything that immediately comes to mind that you want to add?
I would say hopelessness. I think sometimes when I am in a glut of information, as Postman would put it, I think I just feel like, what am I to do?
Yeah. Yep.
I feel a little lost. I feel a little hopeless.
Yeah, I think that's a good ad.
How about you? Anything you add?
I mean, I feel like hopeless kind of combines a couple of those elements. But yes, I think that'd be good to highlight that. Yeah, I mean, I think all of these are true. And
I see different ones in different people for sure.
Sure. And, I think it corresponds with some of the data that other studies have shown in terms of the effects just in general of smartphone use on teens in particular, but in general on people. But yeah, I think as I look through this list, you gravitated towards one that you said hopeless, but yeah, I feel like I experienced some level of all of these at some point.
Yeah.
I do think the anxious piece, I think, is big, in part, and I think it's not just social media that does this, but if ever, God forbid, you watch cable news.
I was about to say, I don't think it's just social media. I think it's 24-hour news cycles.
Well, but even just watching, like, it feels like literally every hour. It's not like I'm sitting there watching endless. There's a breaking news and the big graphic, and they like kind of break into whatever pre-planned segment they're doing. and they announce this breaking news, and you're like, that's really breaking news? Mm-hmm. It's not really. Like, it's I suppose maybe news at some level, but like you're just you're trying to drum up this constant stream of crisis. Mm-hmm. And for like cable news, like that's how they make their money.
Yeah.
Like when do people like there's a segment of the population that just watches cable news. Mm-hmm. But when do the non-staple viewers tune in? Crisis, or in relation to politics, like if there's a debate, or if there's like for election results.
Yeah,
like, honestly, those are the only times I ever turn on cable news.
Yeah, I never know who the debate moderators are.
Is debate, crisis, or like election returns.
Yep, I
that's
never,
it.
And anytime they put somebody on and go, who's this person?
Yeah.
Talking authoritatively.
So, but it just builds this, which I think can lead to the next one, which is being angry.
Yes.
And it feeds your, I think it's intended to incite you, right? Mm-hmm. Especially when you're thinking in partisan terms. The more and more people just only, and this actually ties in with the third one in terms of addiction, they tie it to the algorithms. They figure out what information you can't resist, and so they just feed you the steady stream of reinforcing what you already think, basically. And so it just feeds your anger.
The next one, so anxiety, anger, addiction, numbness. Mm-hmm. Now, he kind of defines this in a way where it's like you're watching headlines scroll by and things that should disturb you no longer disturb you. That's sort of how he defines this. I think something related to this that I see in some people is just sheer avoidance, right? There are individuals who see all these headlines, get anxious, angry, probably not addicted, but see all this stuff so much that they're just like, I don't want anything to do with this. And things that are really important that they should be engaging with, they no longer do.
Yeah, I think that can happen. I mean, the joke in our house is, let me check Twitter to see what I'm supposed to be angry about today. Mm-hmm. Like that's the running line in the Harmon house. Like, well, time for me to see what I'm supposed to be angry about today.
Yeah.
And I think that the numbness, but I mean, some of that's just a defense mechanism. Like, I can't care about all of these things at the same level. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not made to do that. Like, I really don't think we're designed to have this profound, deep, emotional reaction to this constant barrage of things I'm supposed to be angry about, things I'm supposed to be anxious about. Like, we're just not designed that way. And think about, I mean, this happened. I think this has happened for a while, but like I think this happened even to some degree. You think about like in the Vietnam War or even in World War II, as they're announcing like death totals for troops.
Sure.
Well, at one level, the death of any person is tragic, right? I mean, that's especially in a war context. Like, well, that's somebody's son.
Well, BBC in World War II used to read out the names, right?
Yeah.
Right. That was a thing.
And so, like, but I imagine that at some level there was a numbness that sets in where it's like, this is just the new normal. Like,
I've got to get through this.
We adapt.
Yeah.
What do you think about after this? They go on to this section of neglecting the local, meaning that we become so enmeshed in the sort of the national and the international to the neglect of the local. Do you think that's a reality?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, unless the national or federal or big-time news stories intersects with the local, I think that's where people really care.
Yeah, if you live in D.C., for example, like maybe –
well, or
like, say, Hurricane Helene in Western North Carolina.
Yeah.
Like that's national, that's international in terms of like a major story. And if you live in that area, like that's local, you're living it. Or even if you live in North Carolina but maybe not in that area, like you're close enough to it where you know people who are affected.
I was thinking more if something happens in a far-flung city and then a particular protest around that event happens in your town, that's where people get up in arms and they care about things a lot.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I think that's where the intersection happens for sure. But I would be a proponent of his sort of – he doesn't say it's an antidote necessarily, but sort of like you need to care a little bit more local. You know, there's sort of the – what is it, subsidiarity, the people best equipped to deal with a problem are those closest to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's a point that, you know, among others, Kevin DeYoung has been making for years in terms of what is our responsibility in terms of loving our neighbor. And at some level, are we responsible for all the people in the world that we're aware of who are suffering? Well, maybe kind of. But you're especially responsible for the people in your neighborhood or in your local community where you have an embodied presence, where you actually can probably do something that actually would help the situation.
Yeah.
Not that you can't give money to some, you know, relief agency that's –
tsunami relief in Southeast Asia.
Fine, great. Yeah. But I think – and even, you know, they make the interesting point of – you know, when people post on social media, you know, taking a side on a controversial issue, like they mentioned police brutality, like how many of the people have ever had a conversation with a police officer in their own neighborhood? I think it's a fair point.
Yeah.
Now, I think it's also, you know, as sort of a counterpoint, I think being a police officer in our local community is a little different than being a police officer in a major downtown metropolitan area.
Sure. Absolutely.
I mean, I think those are pretty different experiences probably.
Oh, 100%.
You know. But in any case, like the point is valid in terms of there's a difference between, you know, pontificating on a situation from a distance and here's a real live human being who's a police officer. Like what is it like for them to walk into an unknown situation and make split-second decisions that are life or death?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to derail us on talking about police brutality, but, you know, I think that it's part of the curse of the internet, right? Where, you know, and maybe you've experienced. I mean, you've done enough teaching where maybe depending on the modality of teaching, I tend to get far more. It is more common. This doesn't happen a lot, but it is more common to have a student who is an online student or non-residential in my physical classroom say pointed things to me via email than it is for one of my residential students. Because that residential student has to walk into my class that week and look me in the eye and know I sent an email that was probably over the line to my prof. And now I got to look them in the face.
Or they got to see at Alpha, or you know they got to play in intramural basketball, or
even maybe at church, or like out in the community, like
or at a coffee shop, or you know whatever.
Sure, but you know, when I'm just a name and an email account and a person who recorded some videos for their class, they probably feel a little bit more freedom potentially to
absolutely
set me on blast and go after me.
Yeah. I know I can't set you on blast because we sit across from each other once a week and talk.
That's the whole reason we do the pod.
Yeah, so we don't put one another on blast.
That's right. That's right. So, I think my mentality in looking at an article like this is twofold as we wrap this up. The first is to think, how am I experiencing this? Because I don't want to be like, oh, other people need to read this. Like, I need to hear this. I need to be reflective on that. But at the same time, I think it is wise for those of us in ministry to realize, like, this is the experience of our people, the people in our Bible studies, in our small groups, in our Sunday school classes, in our congregations, that they are overwhelmed with information.
Yeah.
And so in an already crowded brain of information overload, how do you communicate God's word in an effective way that isn't just another aspect of information overload?
Yeah.
And I don't think the answer is don't give them the information. That's not the answer. But it's make the connection between information and application and transformation.
Mm-hmm.
How does this reality change who you are as a person? How you interact with your family, your coworkers, your neighbors, all that kind of stuff. How does it change, what you believe, what you desire, what you do, those sorts of things. I think if you can make that connection, it helps God's word stand out even more from the overwhelming sea of information.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
Just hard. I think that's my reflection reading this article is like, there's a large part of me that would love to withdraw from information entirely and, move to Wyoming and, herd sheep or something, although my wife would be allergic. But there's also part of me that's like, how do I take an article like this and remain an informed citizen? And how do you sift through it all? It's just it's an uphill battle.
It is. And who has the time to dig deeply into all of it? You know what I mean? Like, to even fact check things like, okay, so this statement's being made or claimed. I don't have the time. And even then, like, well, how do I dig deep into it?
Yeah.
Do I use AI? Well, AI's got its own bias. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Well, how do I check that claim? It leads me to rabbit trails of, well, how do I know that again, it's a challenge for sure. But I think it's something we need to think about in terms of being faithful disciples of Jesus in this current culture. All right. Time now for This Day in Sports History.
All right, This Day in Sports History, May the 6th, 2025. Just slowly plodding through the year here.
Yeah, big day for the Harmon family, May 6th.
Anniversary?
Jake Harmon's birthday.
Jake Harmon's birthday.
Yeah.
How old is young Jake?
24.
Not so young anymore.
It's still pretty young.
That's pretty young. Yeah, you're right. I withdraw. 1733.
Even earlier than last week's reference.
Yeah, this is pre-America.
Yeah. Jonathan Edwards is still around at this point.
Yeah. When did Edwards die?
54?
Okay.
58. 58.
It's hard to imagine a world that contains both Jonathan Edwards and sports. Is that hard for you to... Anyway, first international boxing match. Local fighter Bob Whitaker beats the Venetian gondolier. How'd I do on that? Did I do all right?
Great, yeah.
Tito D. Carney,
I think.
Carney at James Figg's Academy Amphitheatre in Marylebone, London. Did I get that right?
I think it's just Marylebone.
Marylebone?
Yeah. What a nickname, though. The Venetian gondolier. I mean, that just worked on so many levels. The Venetian gondolier, Tito de Carney, 1733. Yeah, loved it.
Moving up a few years, 1954. Also English athlete Roger Bannister.
Yeah.
Unknown descendant of Bob Whitaker, becomes the first to run a sub-4-minute mile at 3:59.4 at Oxford.
Yes. I'm curious now. I'm going to have to look this up. What's the world record for the mile right now? because he was the first to break.
I think Gray students break a 4-minute mile now.
Well, I know. I was going to guess it was like in the 3:40s, and it's 3 minutes, 43.13 seconds for men, set by Hikam El Guerrou of Morocco. Back in 1999. It hasn't been broken since. That's surprising.
26 years.
Yeah.
82. 1982, just for
Helpful.
the record.
Thank you.
Seattle Mariners' Gaylord Perry becomes the 15th pitcher to win 300 games.
Is that ever going to happen again?
I think it's pretty unlikely.
Yeah, I think that's a stat that's
I mean, we have guys like Justin Verlander, Max Scherzer that are pitching well into their 40s and don't seem to be close.
Yeah, I mean, they've probably won 200 games.
200.
Yeah.
220.
Yeah.
1988, Donutgate?
Yep.
Is that what that is?
Yep.
Incident, New Jersey Devil coach Jim Schoenfeld tells referee Don, Polish names, Kolarski,
Kaharski.
to eat another donut, you fat pig. That's a quotation, just for the record. He is suspended.
Yeah, surprising, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
1998, Kerry Wood strikes out 20 Houston Astros to tie the major league record held by Roger Clemens. He threw a one-hitter and did not walk a batter in his 5th career start. Injury really derailed his career.
Oh, for sure.
Kerry Wood was a great pitcher.
Well, and like, it was like a year later that they had Mark Pryor? Like, they had the two best young pitchers in the majors.
Yeah.
And both of them just
derailed by
their arms just fell apart.
2019, Pablo Sandoval,
Kung Fu Panda,
which you and I have seen together in person.
Yes.
Becomes the second MLB player since 1900 to throw a scoreless outing, hit a home run, and steal a base in the same game. The San Francisco Giants 12-4 loss in Cincinnati. Joins, is that Christie?
Yep.
Christie Mathewson.
Yep.
1905.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that's – I wonder if I'm a little surprised maybe Shohei would do this.
He doesn't often pitch and bat in the same game, though.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the only way this happens today typically is if you bring a guy in a blowout to save your bullpen and one of your position players pitches an inning,
Oh, yeah.
All right, who do you like out of that? I think we got some good options.
We have some really good options.
May 6th was a good day of sports.
Yeah.
I mean, who do you like?
I kind of like all of them. I mean, we could go the Venetian Gondolier because of just that name.
Yeah.
But he loses, right? I want to pick a winner.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
I'll take the sprinter off. Roger Bannister.
Sprinter? I wouldn't call him a sprinter. It's a mile.
It's a mile. Excuse me. The
okay,
runner.
If you're fine. If you don't want to.
I kind of like Pablo Sandoval.
Okay. Kung Fu Panda.
Yeah, I kind of like Donutgate though too.
Yeah.
I like them all.
You're looking for help over here.
Who do you like the best?
I don't know, man. I mean,
Kerry Underwood. Kerry Wood striking out 20 Houston Astros is pretty impressive.
If Kerry Underwood struck out 20
that'd be
Houston
very
Astros,
impressive.
We would definitely go with her.
Could you imagine if Kerry Underwood married Kerry Wood?
Yeah.
That'd be a wild, wild time.
So, man, I'm torn between Donutgate guy and Pablo Sandoval. That's where I'm kind of torn.
What would you put now? What's going to get the most attention in a title? Do you put Donutgate?
Yeah,
you put Donutgate in the title, and you think that garners the most.
I think that gets us at least an extra 2 or 3 listens.
Yeah, let's go Donutgate.
All right, Donutgate.
We don't do a lot of hockey.
It is. One thing you liked.
Okay, so I am going to go with Gamma app. Have you heard of Gamma app, Gamma AI?
No.
Okay, so Gamma app, Gamma AI. I have a presentation this week. I needed a PowerPoint for it. I had an outline ready to go. I copied and pasted that outline into Gamma app, Gamma AI, whatever it's called, and it produced within seconds a very well-developed PowerPoint presentation for me.
Okay.
Like that.
That you could then like download and then tweak, obviously, for your purposes?
That's correct. Wow. Now, the free version has like a certain number of AI credits. I don't even understand it fully, and then a 10-card limit. So you can only have 10 cards. But Gamma app.
You mean slides?
Yeah. They call it cards.
Okay. And this is the Gamma app.
Gamma app, Gamma AI. It's online.
Okay.
But basically, I created my outline. I copied and pasted it into Gamma app, and it started building. And I was like, oh, I'll go get a glass of water while it's building. And I went and got a glass of water. By the time I got back, the whole thing was built. It was beautiful.
Could you tell it like design style, or was it just blank slides that you then had to like background and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, I picked a theme. So I picked a theme, and then I told it what the presentation was for, what sort of audience it was, and what I was trying to accomplish.
Interesting. Okay. That's fascinating. And how much is – I'm sure there's a paid version of that where it's like a subscription or something.
Yeah, $12 a month, something like that.
Okay, so you'd have to do a good bit of PowerPoint kind of stuff.
Our provost uses it like crazy.
Does he?
He's the one that turned me on to it.
Okay. Interesting.
But it does a really sharp PowerPoint. Okay.
All right. So as we mentioned, the day this episode releases, May 6th, is my son Jake's birthday. And so over the weekend we celebrated with him, and our older son John came up. It's good to have them together, hanging out with them, celebrating Jake's birthday. Just, you know, as we get older, it feels like sometimes the amount of time that we get with just all of us together as a fam is more limited. So fun to do that. And I'm actually going to pick a second thing.
Oh, you're going to pick two things.
I am going to do that. So we finished the show Chuck over the weekend. I've talked about this.
What'd you think? Go ahead.
So it's a great show. My wife and I have decided that it didn't reach like our our elite status.
Yeah.
Like we've got a few shows that were like, these are our all-time favorites. But it's like the next tier down.
It got canceled.
What, Chuck?
Yeah, that's why it ended so abruptly.
Yes. We did have some issues with the final few episodes. And I don't want to give away anything, but I will say that Danny in Ohio, when I first announced that we were watching Chuck, he messaged me. And he's like, Chuck's one of my favorite shows, and then he put it in all caps, don't watch the final episode. So that kind of scared us.
Yeah.
We did it anyway. And I see why he said that. And I think the ending is not what I would have wanted, but it did salvage things. So I'll put it like that. I can't say any more without giving it away.
Yeah.
So very much enjoyed it, but I think you'd enjoy it.
I have watched it.
The whole thing?
The whole thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ending is unsatisfying to me.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it's one of those things where you can kind of see things, how things are developing, and you're like, oh, no. No.
I know.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to say anymore. Anyway, we've already gone way past our normal time here. Don't forget.
Giving match.
And that is my one thing I liked.
Oh.
Do not forget, as we mentioned in the business segment of our show, if you skipped it, we have matching funds available for a gift to Grace College or Grace Theological Seminary. Just go onto our website and give money and put in the little memo box or whatever, like VNS Pod or something like that. And our generous listener will give to accelerate, expand the reach of your gift. Also, next week we start a discussion of the summer read, Tim Keller on the Christian Life. Pick up a copy, read the introduction and chapters 1 and 2. All right, John, we have talked about a lot of things. We've talked NBA playoffs. We talked about sovereignty beating journalism. We've talked about the spiritual problem of being over-informed. We've talked about Donutgate.
Donutgate.
Man, good segment of sports.
Eat another donut.
That's right. We talked about the Gamma AI app/website. We talked about celebrating Jake's birthday and finishing up the show, Chuck. So I think by definition, we have covered our various and sundry topics. And
We
so
have.
all that is left to say is, until next time, the Lord bless y'all real good.
Later.